I'm Dorcas Crawford and I'm a conflict management consultant with the Better Way Conflict Management Services. I think my favourite quote in relation to conflict management is that conflict is inevitable and combat is optional. And the reason it means so much is that I genuinely do think that conflict in life is inevitable. We will always disagree with people, we will always come across people with different views, and we will often be in situations where we feel that we're in conflict with somebody else, but we don't have to deal with that conflict by getting into combat. I think that the most important skills that are possible to learn in managing conflict in a way that is non-combative is, first of all, to learn to listen properly. Secondly, to ask questions. And thirdly, to learn how to reframe the things that you're expressing and to reframe the things that other people are expressing so that you can communicate in a more respectful way without ending up in combat. Listening is probably the most important skill in any kind of communication. And unfortunately, particularly these days where people are distracted with phones and television and social media of all kinds, it's very, very rare to talk to somebody and have them listen really attentively to you. And if you've ever experienced somebody listening to you properly, you'll know how flattering and how important that is and how you feel like they've really understood what you're saying because they've actually listened. Often what we do is we listen in order to answer or just to wait to the end of your sentence so that I can make my point. But if we're really listening properly so that we, first of all, understand what the person is actually saying and secondly, really take it in, then we have a much better chance of communicating in a more effective way. So second to listening, I think that probably a really crucial skill for good communication and managing conflict in communication as well is asking questions. So there are lots of different types of questions that we can ask and most of us tend to ask just very general, superficial things. There are questions to find out, explore, really see what somebody is actually saying and feeling and thinking. There are questions that are then a bit further to that, which are really understanding what that person's saying. So not just asking the facts or the history or what they're telling you in terms of what's just happened, but asking how they feel about it, getting to the bottom of what's really going on in their mind. And then to dig below the surface even more, there are other kinds of questions that we can use and ask to understand just a bit more that will then help us understand why their view is so different from ours and will help us to express why our view is so different from them. So those questions are really key to understanding people. So another skill that I think is really useful in terms of managing communication, particularly when we disagree with somebody, is to reframe things. Essentially what reframing is expressing our mindset, changing our mindset to see things differently, changing the words we use to explain them in a different way. And it can be a really, really effective skill because sometimes when we express things differently and tune in to the kind of language the person we're talking to speaks, and instead of saying it the way we would normally say it, maybe saying it in a way that they might understand it better, will really help to communicate our view, especially when it's different from theirs. So also then thinking about how we think about things, sometimes it just really helps to look at something and say, what if I saw that in a different way? What if I saw that person's view in a different way? That's what reframing is essentially. I hope that learning some of these skills and practicing them in the course, which we will do in the workshop, it'll be very interactive and people get the chance to learn the 3 skills and then to practice them. I really hope that it will help people to change the way they communicate, particularly when they're communicating with somebody who has a completely different view from yours, and to express themselves and understand the other person's view in a different way. So in other words, to manage communication in conflict in a more respectful way and to learn from it.